welcome Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Briar-Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether that's auto, homeowners, flood boaters, or business insurance, there is nobody better to work with in this business than the good people at Briar-Greaves Insurance. For more information about them, visit their website, briargreavesinsurance.com, or give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. And make sure you give them a call, because if you do, and you chat with Briar-Greaves Insurance, let them see how they can help you with all of your insurance needs, you will automatically be entered into a raffle to win free tickets to the Bucs-Falcons game in December on Thursday Night Football. It's the Creamsicle, and Briar-Greaves Insurance is giving away tickets in the lower bowl in seats at Raymond James Stadium. So give them a call, chat with Briar-Greaves, and be automatically entered into a raffle to potentially win Bucs-Falcons tickets for that Creamsicle game on Thursday night. We're talking about another NFC South game, though, for this week. It is our Wednesday show, so that means we're talking about the Bucs' next game, which is Bucs at the Saints. It's the Bucs' last game before the bye. They're coming off a tough loss. They're playing a Saints team that only has one win on the season. But as we know, you can throw the record books out the window when these two teams match up, as there's been a lot of heated rivalry matchups and games between these two. So we're going to break it down on today's show, talk a little Baker, talk a little Todd Bowles. I'm Matt Matera. That's Scott Reynolds. Scott, how are we doing?
I'm looking forward to this game already. I'm ready to turn the page for Monday night. I'm excited to see what this team does, how it responds, how it bounces back. I don't know that this team needs to go out and blow out the Saints, because this is a rivalry game, and I was studying the Saints this morning. Did my SR's Pick 6 preview for that Bucs Saints game, and I'll put that in the chat right now. You can read it after the show. But the Saints are kind of a feisty little team.
Scrappy.
They are, yeah. I mean, these are the scores to these games when you think, okay, well, they only have one win. They must really suck, and well, they kind of do. But they really haven't gotten blown out by a lot of opponents. Arizona beat them in week 1, 20-13, 7-point loss. They lost to the San Francisco 49ers, another tough team in the NFC, 26-21. That's a close game. Now, they did get blown out by the Seahawks, 44-13. That was at Seattle. That was their first road game. And that's a tough place to play. I mean, the Bucs, saw that firsthand. Then they lost at Buffalo. Okay, we're talking Josh Allen and a really good Bills team, 31-19. So those are the two bigger losses right there. Then the upstart New York Giants, right? They're kind of coming on now a little bit. Probably should have beat the Broncos. Maybe not mature enough yet to do that. But they were trailing in that game in New Orleans, I want to say like 14-0, and they came back to beat the Giants 28-14. And then the New England Patriots, again, the Patriots are 5-2, surprise of the league. They're maybe this year's Washington Commanders, and they hung tight with them 25-19. They lost to the Patriots, and then they went on the road to the Bears last week and lost 26-14. So again, another one-score game. So they're kind of like right in there a little bit. They're not a team that maybe, I'm sorry, Matt, maybe like the Jets, or the Dolphins that just are like in this malaise. Even the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens have gotten crushed this year. They're just not the same Ravens team. But the Saints are kind of sticky. They're like the grease and the grime on Bourbon Street, in the gutter. They stick to you a little bit. They're sticky and nasty. Yeah. And these two teams don't like each other. That's a news flash. And even if Mike Evans isn't playing, and even if Marshawn Lattimore's not there, they still have Cam Jordan. He's a bit of a prick. And Baker Mayfield took a couple of shots last year. Got kind of high load in New Orleans, and then in that game last year or actually 2 years ago, was making a throw
pass to Kate Otten. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And just got drilled right in the chest by Tyrann Mathieu. So there's still a couple of pricks in New Orleans that that are going to be prickly in the thorn in the side, as the old reference says, to these Buccaneers. And I still like Tampa Bay's chances. They're the more talented team, but this is a rivalry game, so throw everything out.
For sure. There's a difference between the 1-win Saints and, as you mentioned before, the 1-win Dolphins and the 0-win New York Jets. The Jets and the Dolphins look just lifeless when they play in games. But the Saints have taken it to some teams. When I say taken it to, I mean like not making it a cakewalk. They don't roll over.
Right.
They covered the spread against the Bills in Buffalo. Nobody thought
Good
that
point.
game was going to be close. I know, because I took the Bills in my Survivor League that week, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, why isn't it 35-7?
Yeah.
You know, at this point. And while they are not a good team, they certainly have a veteran presence in certain areas. You mentioned a couple of them already. They have some receivers that you have to look out for. Yeah. And the defense, while, again, not what it was a couple of years ago and when Tom Brady was going up against them, they found a way to kind of get under the skin of Baker Mayfield in a couple of different ways. So this is Baker's third year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That means he's played 4 games as a Buc against the Saints. He has a 3-1 record. First game, 246 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Next game, 309, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Then last season, it was the big 51-27 win in New Orleans. 325 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. And then the final game, which, of course, will be remembered for Mike Evans getting 1,000 yards.
That's right.
221 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So that's 1,101 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. This Saints team is not good, but they haven't been able to find a way to take the ball away from Baker Mayfield. Now, there's a lot more splash plays and better plays that you like from Baker Mayfield, but they've found a way to rattle Baker and take the football away. So we talked about protecting the football all season long. The Bucs have relatively done a good job of doing that. But that's one way to keep the Saints in a game that really should be a big win for the Bucs.
Yeah, I mentioned Mike Evans just a moment ago, and right on cue here, we'll just give you the news here as we are receiving it from the Buccaneers. No surprise, the Buccaneers have placed Mike Evans on injured reserve, and they have signed Michael Jordan to the active roster. So that frees up a practice squad spot right there for the Buccaneers. And Michael Jordan, we think, will continue to start at right guard. He seems to be the option, especially with Luke Haggard still out. But we're going to see it. And actually, let's see here. Did they make a? Yeah, they did. The club signed wide receiver Brandon Johnson to the practice squad. Brandon Johnson, a bigger receiver, 6'2", 195 pounds, played in 23 career games between the Broncos and the Steelers, totaling 26 receptions for 335 yards and 5 touchdowns. He played collegiately at Tennessee as well as UCF. So maybe Bailey Adams will be excited about that, our resident knight.
Resident spaceman.
Yeah, that's right. So, there's the expected roster move there with Mike Evans going on injured reserve, Michael Jordan coming up. So we figure he'll be at right guard again. He didn't have a good game. 9 pressures allowed in that game. Charlie Heck, 9 pressures allowed.
Him as well. Yeah.
Both those guys gave up a sack too. So, hopefully Charlie can fare better against Cam Jordan, old man Cam, still going at it at age, is he 52 now? He's like a year behind me, I think. Something like that.
Damn.
Got some gray in his beard. Look at that.
Does.
2.5.
Kind of looks like a pirate, to be honest.
He does. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's, Jason Light can't stand him. He's been on social media. Matter of fact, we had some, we're going to tease the show for tomorrow. Okay, we're just going to come out and say it. 4 o'clock. It's Bucs hate the Saints week, right? And we're going to get more reaction from Buccaneer veterans that have played the Saints for multiple years. These two teams don't like each other. Throw the records out. It doesn't matter. Saints used to rule the roost. The Bucs hated them for that. Now the Bucs rule the roost ever since ending Drew Brees' career, really in 2020, and then really since Todd Bowles took over. Has Bowles lost to the Saints?
Yes,
one time, right?
One time,
Yeah, one time.
with Baker's, yeah.
Right. So this is kind of a topsy-turvy twist of fate here, where the Saints ruled for like 4 straight years. Now it's the Bucs' turn, and if the Buccaneers win the NFC South this year, they will have more NFC South championships than any other team ever in the division, which is kind of cool. So, and now the Saints are the cellar dweller that the Bucs used to be during the Josh McCown, Mike Glennon, Josh Freeman, Jameis Winston era, all those bad quarterbacks. So tomorrow, 4 o'clock, it's Bucs hate the Saints week. Adam and Matt will do a whole show on that, and we'll just tell you right now. On Friday, for our Pewter Insider, for our Pewter Platinum and Premier members, can Tez Johnson emerge as wide receiver 2? Kind of looked like he was wide receiver 2 on Monday night, man. No disrespect to Sterling Shepard, but Mekabuka had 12 targets, and I want to say Tez Johnson had like 10. So it looks like Tez is getting fed a lot, and he's got a big game ahead of him as he kind of steps into the role of Tez, the touchdown maker now. 2 touchdowns in back-to-back games.
And 2 very different touchdowns, right? Yeah. The one against San Francisco was a deep ball all the way down the field that he extended as much as he possibly could, was able to dive, make the catch, and hold on to it. And then last week, more of a screen pass type of play where he took it up the field, jumped over a defender, then spun his way into the end zone. So I like the creativity with Tez Johnson. We know that he can make people miss, but the fact that Baker is looking for him down the field and then also getting him involved with short passes and screens and things of that nature, I think eventually, yes, he can be wide receiver 2 when you just kind of look at Sterling Shepard being a veteran who will be very important for this team. But Tez Johnson has way more explosiveness as a wide receiver, and it's been fun seeing his number called the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's a fun dude. He said, what did he say? He hit all of the buttons.
He hit all the buttons on the controller.
On the controller,
how in Madden, Madden, really triangle is the hurdle, or Y, depending on if you're PlayStation or Madden or PlayStation or Xbox. Yeah, triangle is PlayStation. I'm looking at the controller right now. Circle is the spin move for those.
Yeah, there we go. So he was hitting them all during that. Love that guy, man. It's like he's a rookie and he's really good. He's going to be around a long time. And I mean, he's just one of those guys that I got a funny feeling, Matt, if it's not this year, and maybe it's in years to come, that he's going to be winning the Mark Cook Good Guy Award for talking to the media. I mean,
for sure.
He's going to have that in the bag. He is just so much fun to talk to. Always a great interview. You have no idea what he's going to say. And we love the unpredictability of him. But, great guy, great teammate. You see a lot of his content already on Buccaneers.com. The Buccaneers tapping into him for a lot of social media stuff. Just a really, really fun player. And we got a fun show for you today because it is Bucs versus Saints preview. And when I'm looking at the Saints team, I'm really trying to be objective here, and I'm not trying to crap on the Saints, but they really don't do anything well. I mean, they really don't, except for lose. And again, well, I'm just saying that like they're 1 and 6. They're really good at losing.
They legitimately have the worst record in the NFC.
Yeah, there's nothing that this team does really well, except hang around. They're scrappy. You have to they don't quit. I mean, Kellen Moore is a new coach. Brandon Staley's the defensive coordinator. Moore calls the plays on offense. Staley calls the plays on defense, and they don't quit. I mean, they have got some really good veteran leadership. Old man DeMario Davis in the middle, one of my favorite players. I love watching this guy play. He's really good, and he's been good for a long time. Cameron Jordan still there. Tyrann Mathieu. The weapons on offense, Alvin Kamara seems like he's been there 20 years. He's still around. But there's just not one thing that the Saints offensively or defensively can really hang their hat on. Carl Granderson, he's one of my favorite pass rushers, having a good year, 4.5 sacks. They're just now getting Chase Young back. He's been back the last 2 games and had a sack in last week's game against the Bears. So maybe they're starting to get a little bit more pass rush. Cam Jordan, kind of a shell of his former self, 2.5 sacks this year. I still can't sleep on him because he'll come through and get the job done. He's a big, strong, physical guy. Just doesn't have that that sensational pass rush ability that he used to. Age will rob that from you. But Pete Werner is a good linebacker too. Certainly have Baker Mayfield's attention. This is a fundamentally a good defense, similar to what Vic Fangio likes to run, according to Baker Mayfield today. It's a top-down defense. They do not like stuff to go over their heads, so expect a lot of deeper zone looks. Their cornerbacks, Kool-Aid McKinstry, 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, leads the team, but has also given up 4 touchdowns this year and is really one of their lower-rated defensive players per Pro Football Focus. Alontae Taylor, though, is a good nickel corner. He's scrappy and tough and physical. So, that's why I'm saying this might be a Tez Johnson, Emeka Egbuka game on the outside, because you got someone like Alontae Taylor who's capable of taking away that slot receiver, which has typically been Sterling Shepard. Yeah. This might be a game that is won kind of like out there on the numbers in the passing game.
Probably the best way to go about it. And New Orleans has been able to take the ball away a little bit. They have 9 turnovers on the season, 4 interceptions, and 5 forced fumbles. And we saw the Bucs lose a fumble last game. Sterling Shepard got the ball knocked out from his hand. So that's another thing to really keep an eye on for this game. I really only see New Orleans staying in it if the Bucs give up some costly turnovers, because Spencer Rattler will turn the ball over himself. He was doing it a ton last game, and I was watching a lot of that game to the point where I'm thinking, all right, they got to go to their other quarterback, Tyler Shuck, out of Louisville. But they did not decide to go with that for that one. So fundamentals is definitely the way to describe the Saints defense. They're not too out of control. Their pass rush isn't overall threatening, but I think, if you look at the blueprint from what the Lions were able to do, if they can find a way to create pressure, whether it's on the outside or in the interior, that's the best way to keeping Baker Mayfield in the pocket is the best way to go, to be honest with you. And that's not saying that Baker's not a good thrower of the football. He clearly is, but Baker's kind of like a wild horse. He wants to run free and he wants to gallop and he wants to do all of these things.
Right.
And he wasn't able to. And I thought it was interesting that the Lions went and essentially put a QB spy on Baker Mayfield. And I'm curious if the Saints or more teams will do that as well in the coming weeks.
Yeah. And I need to correct myself here, as David Stapleton says. Yes, Tyrann Mathieu did retire. I was actually looking at the Saints stats from 2024 here. That's why I read his name off. But the Saints actually have a couple of pretty interesting safeties. Jonas Sanker was a safety out of Virginia who's a rookie. He already has an interception this year that I think the whole Pewter Report staff kind of liked. He's a good player. Quincy Riley is a nickel corner, little bit of an undersized guy, playmaker out of Louisville. He's new. And then, of course, Kool-Aid McKinstry, who was their first-round pick in 2024. So they're kind of rebuilding that secondary in New Orleans, but they still have a couple of old farts in Demario Davis and Cam Jordan. But one of their other old farts, Tyrann Mathieu, did retire. He retired back in the summer, I think July, right before training camp. And Justin Reed's the other safety too. He's a pretty good player. So they have some talent back there in the secondary. It's just a matter of having it all come together, and it just hasn't yet for the Saints. And they have some talent, but they're talent deficient in other areas. Like, for example, I thought Vita Vea had a really good game, and I think the Pro Football Focus grade kind of backed that up in Detroit. And we talked about it where Tate Ratledge, the right guard, Christian Mahogany, the left guard, Graham Glasgow, the center, they're not really good in pass protection, but they're really good run blockers. And that's what they want to do. And they were able to do that pretty effectively against the Buccaneers. But we also saw Vita Vea collapse the pocket a couple times and get some push. And it's going to kind of be the same thing with this game. Eric McCoy, their best offensive lineman, their Pro Bowler, is on injured reserve with a bicep injury, right? So he's out for this game. And, his replacement is a player that's been around the league, for a while. Luke Fortner, 6'4", 307 pound, 3rd round pick out of Jacksonville originally, but now he's with the Saints. So he's going to be taking over at center. So they're going to have a new center in this game. And then their two guards too, kind of the same thing. They're not really good pass protectors. They're trying to make a guard out of Trevor Penning, who was their former left tackle a couple years ago. And he was a first-round pick, was a bust out there. They tried him at right tackle. He couldn't play. So now they're trying to salvage his career at guard, and he's just not that good. And then Cesar Ruiz, kind of the same thing, not a great pass protector. So if Tampa Bay can stop the run, and New Orleans has not done a good job running the ball this year.
No.
If they can stop the run, then you kind of tee off on Spencer Rattler in the passing game. And I think Vita Vea can have a really big game again. And it's been a couple games since he's had a sack. I think this is an opportune game for him to come through. Remember, he had a sack last year in that game. Just about killed Spencer Rattler, too. So he's had some success against the Saints, and I expect that he'll have another big game as well, especially without McCoy in the middle, Matt.
Yeah, that Eric McCoy injury is so tough for the Saints. It just happened last game as well. So it's going to be their first time kind of adjusting to a new offensive line. And we saw how it can be done where you still are effective, the way that the Bucs jumbled around their offensive line the first two games of the season and really have had to do so throughout the rest of the year, whether it's replacing a guard or getting a different offensive tackle in there. So it can be done, but much of what any team wants to do offensively starts with trying to slow down Vita Vea. And what I'm hoping to see is if, the Saints aren't able to run the football, and I believe the Bucs will get back to being a formidable run-stopping type of defense. I think it was just a hiccup, and credit to the Lions as well for, finding the right spot and everything like that. But I want to see a little bit more of Elijah Roberts. He's overtaken Logan Hall for the amount of snaps he's getting per week. But the Bucs are getting closer. Now, Yaya Diaby did a good job on the edge, but now with having Anthony Nelson, the Bucs are getting closer to being in a situation where they're relying on their interior defensive line to be the majority of the pass rush for this team. Let's remember, a couple of seasons ago, it was Vita Vea that led the team in sacks. Last year, it was Kalijah Kancey that led the team in sacks. And unfortunately, Kalijah Kancey's not playing for the rest of the regular season. So it's going to have to fall on someone else besides Vita Vea as well. So that's a huge advantage the Bucs will have without Eric McCoy in the game. And if you can make the Saints one-dimensional, especially if the Bucs can regain their form offensively and maybe get a 2-score lead, we haven't seen too many opportunities, and really not until the 49ers game, the Jets game as well, where this defense is playing with big time, like 2-score leads, maybe even 3-score leads. All the other games, either the Bucs have tried to come from behind or it's been very back and forth.
Right.
They haven't really been able to just be like, all right, we can kind of settle down a little bit. This is what we're going to run. Yeah. And it looks so great against the 49ers, the way that they had the lead and then they were able to attack the quarterback. Yeah. That's essentially what they want to do against Spencer Rattler. He can turn the ball over. He's been sacked 15 times this season. Why not replicate what you did last year against the Saints in New Orleans? I think every Bucs fan will want that, the 51-point output by the team.
And the crazy thing, they were down at halftime, right, to the Saints because of all of those. Baker Mayfield had 3 interceptions, 2 of which were kind of like fluky a little bit, but still 3 interceptions in the first half. And it was a close game because of that. And then in the second half, it was a complete shutout by the Bucs defense. We started to see some turnovers. Tyke Smith had his first interception of his career. Zion McCollum had his second interception of the season in that game. So, yeah, it was a tale of two halves, literally. And it was just we saw Sean Tucker just absolutely run wild against the Saints. Was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. And Q's44, if you're out there, I asked just for you today. I asked Todd Bowles, is Sean Tucker going to get the ball more? And Matt, what did he say? It's kind of what we talked about in yesterday's podcast.
Yeah, he said he is going to get the football more. He said they need to get Sean Tucker more involved, and not even because of Sean Tucker and how good he can be, but he pretty much said 90% is way too much for Rachaad White, where they're going to end up injuring Rachaad White the same way that Bucky got injured. So it's part of because Sean Tucker is good enough, and they do trust him. to play, or at least when he has the football in his hands as a running back. But also, you can't have Rashad in 90% of the time. And
Yeah.
Bulls admitted too, like the game kind of got out of whack and it dictated
Yeah.
what needed to get done. So expect a little bit more of Sean Tucker this week, Bucs fans. And he's going back to a place where he had one of the best game of his NFL career.
That's right.
Maybe there's something about, Sean Tucker in New Orleans where he just goes berserk for whatever reason. So you're going to see a little bit more of Sean Tucker. We'll see how effective that can make the ground game, which stalled out last game. But again, they didn't really commit to the run. When the Bucs have committed to the run, even going back to that Seattle game, it wasn't overall spectacular or fantastic, but they closed out the game at the end running the football on a 3rd and 7. They were able to run it against San Francisco much, much better. Being able to, one, not throw it 50 times in a game, but being able to, you don't even have to be balanced, but just knowing you can run it when you feel like it is super important for this team specifically. So I'm excited to see a little bit more Sean Tucker. Rachaad White will still be very, very involved, but don't be surprised if we see the Sean Tucker, I'm not going to say NFC Offensive Player of the Week type of performance, but more of an impact from Shawnee Tucks in this game.
Yeah, and I think this is part of the lesson that Josh Grizzard's having to learn as a first-time play caller is you have to kind of think big picture too, and how much you play these guys, it stacks up throughout the season. And maybe, just maybe, using Bucky Irving too much in the first couple of games, right? Where there were a couple of games where like, is Rachaad White, did he dress? I mean, oh yeah, he did. He only played like a handful of snaps. So maybe when Bucky gets back, we go and see more of a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split rather than that 80-20 split that we kind of saw in terms of the workload. And now I think the message has been sent right from Todd Bowles to like Josh Grizzard. Hey, Josh, like we got to play Sean Tucker, whether you want to or not. We can't have Rashad out there getting hurt because then we're down to Sean Tucker and Owen Wright because Josh Williams is still in concussion protocol. But real quick, before we kind of move on with the show, let's just kind of run down the injuries because we don't have the injury report just yet, Matt, but Todd Bowles did have some updates. He pretty much said Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin Jr. are out for this week.
Right.
No surprise there, especially given the bye week is right around the corner. That seems to make sense. Luke Gedeke, there's a little bit of an update, but again, something what we've reported, not going to be available after the bye week.
Trending positively. That's the key. So maybe after the bye. So those are the big ones there. Mike Evans is going to get surgery, and Bowles clarified today that he's going to be out for pretty much the regular season. But there's a chance he could come back for the playoffs. Again, it's a we'll see type of thing. It depends on how he progresses, how he responds after surgery and stuff like that.
He also talked about Jalen McMillan still in a brace. Now, we don't know if it's that halo brace like this or if it's just like a collar, but obviously still dealing with that. Doing some exercising, but still not ready to come out of that brace yet. Certainly not ready for football yet. I was told December, and I wasn't told whether it was early December, like the Cardinals game or something, or if it's going to be later December, like the Falcons game in week 15. Not sure about that yet. And I don't think the Buccaneers quite know what the exact timetable is for J-Mac. We're here on October 22nd. It might be another month or two, right, before we really truly know when J-Mac will be back. But the expectation is that he'll come back at some point there, which is good. We have a couple super chats. Let's get to some of those, Matt.
Yes, we do. Tate Miller, we'll start it off with him. Thanks for the $4.99 super chat. It says, I know this might be looking ahead, but do you think the Bucs have or will have any interest in BYU linebackers Isaiah Glasgow or Jack Kelly?
I'm more familiar with Glasgow. He's a bit of a draft crush for me. I really like him as an athlete and as a football player. I've watched Jack Kelly, but I think Glasgow's the more splashy type player. Now Kelly's got 5 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons, and this season isn't even over with yet. I mean, we're halfway there, so who knows? He's also got a forced fumble. I think Glasgow is just a little bit better in terms of his dynamic playmaking ability and also his coverage in his range too. This is a player that that at BYU had 3 interceptions last year as a first-year starter, including a pick 6, 4 pass breakups, 3.5 sacks, 14.5 tackles for loss. What I like about him is he's a big dude. He's listed at 6'6", but he's really probably about 6'4", but very rangy, long arms, can get after the quarterback, already has 2 sacks this year, already has 2 interceptions this year. So we're talking about a coverage linebacker that has 5 interceptions over the last year and a half, including a pick 6 and 5 pass breakups. And he's pretty good stop the run too. 70 tackles last year, 31 this year, 6.5 tackles for loss. You don't see a lot of draft buzz with him. I got to bug Trevor Sikkema and the people over at PFF. They don't have him listed as a draftable linebacker, I don't think. But he's on my draft board. I can see him being a day 3 guy. And if he tests really well athletically, and maybe he's going to stick around at BYU, but he's a junior this year, so I would think he would come out. BYU is a very good team with a very good defense, so he's definitely on my radar.
I will say the name Jack Kelly just sounds like an inside linebacker.
Yeah. Well
and there's no doubt the Bucs will certainly be in the market for an inside linebacker.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I also featured Lasker in my recent Pewter Pulse video where I talked about the linebacker position.
Mark Fisher, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Says, if Godwin and Gedeke don't return, are we Super Bowl contenders? Baker off last game, but I'm not too concerned. But looking at big picture, don't get Bucky still out.
Well, Bucky Irving's dealing with a foot injury and a shoulder injury. So he's got 2 injuries he's trying to rehab right now. And obviously a pretty serious injury if you're missing about a month of football.
Yeah.
If Godwin and Gedeke don't return, are the Bucs a Super Bowl contender?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think this team has to get closer to full strength. I think if you get Mike back in January, I think that bolsters your chances. But you need Bucky and Godwin and Gedeke. You need those 3 guys on offense. I think you can win without J-Mac. If he comes back, we'll see what happens. But there's something that's bugging me about this Chris Godwin injury, Matt. He hasn't practiced.
Right. He's not even outside.
I know.
He's not even like running individually or anything like that. And he's been on the sideline at games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I asked Todd Bowles today, and I said, Todd, is this potentially a season-ending injury, or is this more like a week-to-week? He said week-to-week. I should have just shut my mouth and just said, is this a season-ending injury? Let him say, no, it's not. He'll be back. Then I could have said, well, when? And he's like, I don't know. But
right. I think the problem, too, is like, on the injury report, you'll see, Todd will be like, he's got a leg, he's got a shoulder, he's got a knee. But for Godwin, it's specifically fibula.
Yeah.
Like a bone in his body. It's not, it's his leg. His leg's bothering him or something like that. It's just been a nightmarish season for Chris Godwin Jr. Yeah. I mean, going back to also friggin' crazy that last year, I think it was October 21st when Godwin got injured.
Yeah.
And then this year on Monday Night Football. And then this year also on Monday Night Football, one day before on October 20th or whatever they played, it's Evans who gets the big time injury. So the Bucs cannot play in week 7 on Monday Night Football. So
please don't do that again, NFL.
Yeah, I think Gedeke, getting him back is probably most important in my opinion. I mean, Jason Light obviously values the trenches a ton. And I think if you can get Evans back for the playoffs and not Godwin, you have a chance. Or if it's no Evans, but you do get Godwin, I think some semblance of wide receiver would be important.
Yeah. I'd like to see some semblance of a running game this week, because that's really been missing all year long. It really, that consistent ground game. And I know the offensive lines had their issues. Now Bucky's out, but Rashad White didn't play last year in New Orleans. It was just Bucky and Sean. So maybe Rashad says, hey, let me have a good game in New Orleans. Since I missed last year.
Sunshine and Lollipops Cat, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, told you these guys were pesky.
Yeah.
Hope we take them seriously. Bake stated his thoughts at the end of his presser. LOL.
That's right. Yeah, it's these two teams don't like each other. Baker doesn't like the Saints, and kind of said so today, Matt.
Yes, he did. And for clarification, he got asked this over the summer. There's a podcast, Part of My Take. I'm a big fan of it. And they asked Baker if he felt bad about kind of like manufacturing the 1,000 yards for Mike Evans. And Baker said, I hate the Saints. Absolutely not. So he kind of got asked about that and why he doesn't like the Saints.
This rivalry is so intense.
It hasn't exactly been clean play from their part when we play them. It's a physical game. It is what it is. You expect it. Division rival. Not much else to say besides the fact that I don't like them.
And, it's awesome that Baker and Jason Light have a great relationship.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
They have a lot of things in common. They
They do.
bonded over a lot of things. Football, of course.
I think they both like beer too.
Beer. I was going to say dive bars.
Yeah,
And their hatred of the Saints. Because we just heard what Baker said. But let's not forget, Bucs fan, Jason Light, a friend of the program, was on this podcast. We asked him a simple question. Who do you think's the Bucs' biggest rival is?
Yeah.
Jason Light gave an answer before we could even finish the question.
That's right.
What is the Bucs' biggest rival in the NFC South? I know you want to go undefeated.
I hate the Saints. I hate the Saints.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
And
I
why
love
is
it.
that? Embellish, please. Give us some reasoning.
Oh, I mean, it's almost a compliment to them. I mean, I like some people that work there, I like Mickey Loomis. I always enjoy talking to him at the owners' meetings and got some other really good friends on their staff. But I just, for some reason, I just can't wait to beat their ass. It's and they're always tough. They're a tough team, no matter what. Doesn't matter what their record is.
Yeah.
It's
Even in the season finale last year,
Right.
they were gritty.
no, I have a lot of respect for them. A lot of respect for them.
It's got to be that much sweeter when Mike gets over 1,000 yards in that last game against the Saints specifically.
Yeah, that was top 5 moment for sure.
Yeah.
That and, you clinched the division. There are some haters out there. You keep the receipts, Jason, when it comes to the naysayers
I
of
do.
the Bucs.
I got a shoebox of them right now already for this year.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff.
I can't wait to beat their ass.
I love that. Yeah, that is your GM, Tampa Bay. Gotta love that guy. He's
GM
really good.
of the people.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on with the super chats. Mark Fisher, thanks for the $1.99, says, has the NFL said anything about the double review?
I don't know. And you know what? The officiating just disgusts me so much. I don't even like talking about it. I just get nauseous just thinking about it. So I'm kind of one of these, like, that happened last game. They're not going to go back and change the call or change the outcome. It's water under the bridge.
So. Yeah, what are they going to replay the quarter? Bucs got to fly back to Detroit or something like that?
Do better, NFL. Do better, please.
So Roger Goodell did say something because there's some owners' meetings going on in New York. That's where Woody Johnson famously said, if we could complete a pass, we'd be onto something.
That's
for
right.
The Jets, talking about how much he hates his quarterback, Justin Fields. But anyway, Goodell mentioned something about having AI help with officiating. And I don't know exactly what that means, but technology was supposed to be here to help the game go quicker, and somehow we're going even slower despite the new technology. So I don't really know the answers with that.
Well, I mean, it was all laid out in James Cameron's The Terminator. I mean, Skynet's going to kill us all, so we're just waiting, I guess, for that day. Maybe God could help us. I don't know.
Didn't Todd Bowles? I think Todd Bowles referenced The Terminator this year as well.
I think he did. Yeah,
I forgot what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Bucs Basement, thank you for this $4.99 super chat. Says, there's something so awful looking about Light when you have the Cowboys with the worst record than the Bucs going to get Max Crosby. Shame on Jason Light.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. So the latest reports, and again, believe it or not, but the latest reports are that the Raiders are simply not going to trade Max Crosby. Right. They have made that clear. They said it publicly. They've told Crosby that. We're like, hey, we just signed you to a 3-year, $100+ million deal. You're a cornerstone player. Yeah, we need to build around you, but we're not going to give you up to build this team. So Max Crosby, unless something drastically changes, you can cross him off the list. I think we're there too with Trey Hendrickson. I think the Bengals, their strategy, we talked about it yesterday in the podcast, just gonna franchise this guy and just hold him hostage. You are not leaving Cincinnati, Trey Hendrickson. Sorry, we own you, and we're going to franchise you the next year. And then when you're 32 years old and you're done, then you can leave or retire or whatever. But so the top 2 pass rushers that could be traded for, that have the most buzz in terms of the media, are off the trading block, supposedly, right? So there's that.
Yeah, I just think it's going to come down to finding more of a depth piece at outside linebacker or inside linebacker. I thought you made a great suggestion yesterday with Kayvon Thibodeau from the New York Giants. There's a couple players on the Miami Dolphins as well that I think could be a fit.
Yeah.
I know people have mentioned as well, because the Jets actually have a couple of good edge rushers with Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. I would love for the Bucs to go after one of them, but I don't see the Jets trading Will McDonald. He's still got a couple of years left on his rookie deal. Jermaine Johnson would be a little bit more interesting. He is a bit injury prone, but
Florida State guy.
Yeah, Florida State. Next year would be his 5th-year option, I believe. So the Bucs would be able to hold on to him for that.
Yeah.
I just don't know. A lot of people are saying his price would be a 2nd and a 4th, and I don't know if I would pay that.
Right.
If it's just a 4th rounder, then hell yeah, go after Jermaine Johnson. But I just don't see that being the case. And the side's got to work for each team. It's not just like, hey, let's get the Bucs this edge rusher. We'll give him a 7th. No biggie.
The reason why Thibodeau makes sense with the Giants is he's not a starter, right? You've got Abdul Carter, the 1st-round pick this year, and Brian Burns, who's leading the NFL in sacks with 9, and he's got a massive contract. So Thibodeau, a former 1st-round pick, they drafted Abdul Carter because they didn't see Thibodeau being that guy, right? And so maybe you get him, and kind of like what you were saying, Matt, he's not maybe a starting caliber player, but he's better than Chris Braswell, and he might be better than Anthony Nelson, right? So so someone like that, if the price is right, he's young, he's still 25 years old, he has the 5th-year option available, so there is some upside in that particular realm of things. But the Buccaneers, we still don't know how long Hassan Reddick will be out, but it will be multiple weeks. That is for sure. So we're going to see Anthony Nelson start against the New Orleans Saints alongside Yaya Diaby for that game. And, the injury list is long for this team. And if you happen to be injured, in whether it's no fault of your own or, someone else, an accident, the people to call or Jorgensen Law.
Welcome to Jorgensen Law PA, where our family's legacy drives us to fight for your rights. Specializing in personal injury, workers' compensation, and Social Security, we're committed to winning for you. No fees unless we succeed. Trust in our family to help yours. Let's achieve justice together.
Yeah, the Jorgensen brothers, huge Tampa Bay fans. So the cool thing about calling them, if you need legal representation for Social Security, workers' comp, or personal injury, is you're going to be talking the lingo. These guys are Tampa Bay fans. You can talk about Pewter Report. They're big Pewter Report fans as well. And they're the champions of the injured and disabled over in St. Petersburg. You're going to get a free case evaluation and no fees until they win. Not until they win. That's the confidence that you want in your attorneys. So give Jorgensen Law a call at 727-347-7733. That's 727-347-7733, or visit them on the web at jorgensenlawoffice.com. Proud sponsors of the Pewter Report's injury reports.
Yeah.
And we'll have an injury report coming out tonight, and of course one tomorrow, and then on Friday, right before our Pewter Insider podcast.
Yep. So shout out to the law firm. Ryan H. has now been a Pewter Report YouTube channel member for 8 months. Thank you so much. Says, it feels like the Saints are going to play this game like it's their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We need to win this game. I hope our Bucs come out swinging.
Yeah, I do too. I think the biggest thing is getting off to a fast start. That was not the case in Detroit. They were down 14-0. So yeah, I'm it feels like this Buccaneer team is going to come out with the chip on its shoulder. And we talked about this in yesterday's podcast, Matt. The Lions seemed like they wanted to take out the loss they had in Kansas City to the Chiefs out on the Buccaneers. And I think that's the approach we're going to see. It just seemed like in some of the players we were talking to in the locker room today, there's a little bit of a resolve, about this team. The music wasn't really blaring,
Right.
It was a little more matter of fact, a little bit more business-like. Nobody was playing darts or anything. Guys were talking, but it wasn't ha ha ha, like, we're on top of the NFC. It was it just seemed pretty matter of fact. And
yes,
there's a lot of young players in this team, but there's enough veterans on this team that know this is the Saints and anything goes against this team.
Yeah, we saw the week after the Bucs lost to the Eagles and they had to gear up for their next game, and it was their first loss of the season. Todd Bowles put the kibosh on everything with like hijinks and stuff in the not hijinks, but like silly stuff in the locker room. And Bowles was like as angry and stern as we had seen him, at least this season, the following week and the following media sessions that we got to speak to him following losing to the Eagles. Now, today, I wouldn't say he was as angry and stern today that he was a couple of weeks ago, but there was definitely a little bit more of a serious tone than in previous weeks. And I think that translated to the locker room as well. A lot of times guys are like playing cards. They got like chess and a lot of checkers out there as well. It was very business-like and methodical. And I like that approach. It's like, all right, we'll have our fun if we win. But everybody put your heads together when it comes to bouncing back after a loss. So I do think, especially offensively, they will have a much, much better performance. I know New Orleans is kind of tough to play in, but it's not just one person that needs a bounce back, really. Like Baker certainly does. The whole offensive line does. I think getting more opportunities for Cameron Johnson or even Tez Johnson, kind of like running into his own players. Defensively, stopping the run once again, not allowing the swing passes to running backs and Alvin Kamara. There are individual but also group efforts that need to be cleaned up for this game against New Orleans, and I think that's why we saw such a business type of approach. The only person that's really been fun-loving in the locker room is Jamel Dean, and why not? The dude has 3 interceptions. He's playing some of the best football he ever has in his career. Yeah, he's kind of keeping it the same, which I like. But shout out to Jamel Dean.
And Jamel Dean has had some success in that building. Had a 2 interception game off Jameis Winston a couple years ago in that building. So. We'll see how Dean fares. He also got hurt in that game last year too, and I think it was at the hamstring or the knee that he hurt in that game. I can't remember. He's had a lot of injuries, but Jamel, 3 interceptions now for Jamel Dean. So that's maybe it's a good sign that he's playing back in New Orleans, a place where he's had some success. Also, Antoine Winfield Jr. had a scoop and score last year. And, the 2 receivers for New Orleans, Rashid Shaheed and he's the speed guy, Chris Olave. Chris Olave, remember, he got knocked out
by Zion
McCollum, big hit that forced that fumble. That was the scoop and score. Right there's the hit. And Zion knocked out Olave. So there's not a lot of weapons that the Saints have, but it's Alvin Kamara. It's Chris Olave. It's Rashid Shaheed down the field. It feels like if Tampa Bay can just be on its P's and Q's defensively and not have the coverage bust or give up the easy score. We saw Jacob Harris slip and give up a touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown. If they can play down in, down out without having a fluky thing happen, I think Tampa Bay can certainly get its 6th win of the season, and it's a necessary win too to get to 6-2 and have this team exhale a little bit during the bye week. That would be great, because then regardless of what happens around the division, you get another division win if you beat New Orleans. Then you're 2-0 in the division. You still have at least a game ahead of Carolina, and we'll see how they fare without Bryce Young this week.
Also, why are the Bucs slipping all over the place? Week 1, Jamel Dean slips, and luckily Winfield breaks up the pass at the end. Kindle Vildor could have moonwalked, backpedaled into the end zone for a touchdown, but he slips. He can't get up. They're slipping last week as well. Why are they slipping all over the place?
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
To me.
and that was different because that game in Monday night was up in Detroit. I was at the USF FAU game on Saturday, my first Bulls game in a long time, and they kicked FAU's ass. They're a really good team, ranked number 18th in the nation right now. And the field at Ray J is absolutely chewed up.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks bad. And here's the thing: the Bucs don't play at Ray J this week. They don't play, during the bye week, obviously. And then they have that home game, so essentially about 3 weeks, and then they play the Patriots. The field right now at Ray J is garbage. I mean, I even saw players in the FAU USF game slipping and sliding around. So it's chewed up. Excited for USF to get their own stadium because that means it will only be for the Buccaneers. Then they'll only have those home games there. But I think that's still a year or two away. But yeah, the field at Ray J is not good right now, and that's not good considering they have a lot of home games coming up after the bye week. I mentioned USF, and they're a fun team to watch. They're kind of like my second favorite team. Obviously, I'm a Kansas State Wildcat. That's my alma mater. But when it comes to a Florida team right now, yeah, I'm rooting for the USF Bulls. Bulls have a big game coming up at Memphis. Boy, if they beat Memphis, look out. They may not lose again. And the next home game is Thursday, November 6th. So listen, if you have another team that you root for on Saturdays in the college world, that's fine. But maybe make the Bulls game a priority on Thursday. Why not go see some live college football? This is a fun team to watch. Alex Golich has this team humming on offense and defense. Thursday night, November 6th, salute to service game against UTSA. The Roadrunners come to town. The Bulls will be wearing their cool bullhorn with the American flag in it. Very patriotic look for the Bulls. 7:30 kickoff at night. Weather hopefully will be great. Raymond James Stadium. Scan that QR to purchase your tickets. Scan the QR code or go to USF Bulls Tix. That's TIX.com and get your tickets to go see the USF Bulls, ranked number 18th in the country.
That they are. Another super chat to get to. Cali Bucks, thanks for the $1.99 super chat. Says, too many times Anthony Nelson has a tackle for loss and completely whiffs.
That was the case last week against Jahmyr Gibbs. I will say he did have a sack in that game too, so he's literally half a sack behind Hassan Reddick. If you're looking at the stat sheet, he's had some moments where he's whiffed it. You think of that Broncos touchdown in the first quarter where he kind of had that guy one-on-one out in space down there by the goal line and couldn't reel him in. I forget who that player was. But then he did have a sack for a safety against Jalen Hurts in that wild card playoff win. So he also had that big sack fumble on Christmas night in Arizona when he was starting opposite JTS and they didn't have any other pass rushers. So, Todd Bowles loves him. He's not the guy that you want to start ideally, but I'd rather have him start than Chris Braswell, to be honest.
Moments seem to come his way,
yeah,
one way or another, and sometimes he gets the job done, and other times he doesn't. So,
yeah.
We'll see.
AK with another question about some trade candidates. Is Jalen Phillips off the table? Here's the problem with the Miami Dolphins pass rushers. Jalen Phillips as well as Bradley Chubb. Both those guys have had serious injuries. For Chubb, he's had 3 different ACL injuries going back to high school. He had one in Denver, then he had one that took out his entire 2024 season. And then with Jalen Phillips, he's had an Achilles and an ACL. So these are some serious injuries. And for an injury-riddled team like the Buccaneers, I don't think Jason Light and Rob McCartney are going to be rushing to trade for guys that have serious injuries in their past.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but I mean, it would have to be something like a day 3 pick swap or, 6th or 7th round pick. I mean, if I'm Jason Light, I'm saying I can draft, that 3rd or 4th or 5th round pick might be more valuable to get a player who might be the next Elijah Roberts or the next Zion McCollum, or someone like that, rather than taking a chance on renting a player who has an injury history that he comes here, maybe he gets hurt and then it's like, then you're screwed. Like then now you don't have a draft pick or the player you traded for. So I think there would be some apprehension there with those Dolphins guys. We'll see.
Yeah, that's always the risk when it comes to trading for a player that's a little bit more injury prone. But there's no risk when it comes to having fantastic subscribers of Pewter Report TV and specifically our Pewter Platinum members. So thank you so much to Scott Federico, Scotty J, Raythel Gordon, Noah Parr, Dave Anderson, Eric McMillan, Hezo813, Ash Fishpool, Joel L. Rican, Sam, John Dale Morris, Zap Brannigan, RP89, Connor for Reals, Kevin Thomas, Mario Thomas, Leighton Carter, Brandon Riley, The Guy is Gifted, Alec Bickler, Nick Dubuque, Dominic Tarantino, HK Bucks, The Real Maverick, Brayon Pinkney, Brian Shucker, Black Gold 1999, Steven Zool, King James 813, and Brian Green. Thank you all so much for your support of PewterReport.com by being a Pewter Platinum member. And for Pewter Platinum members and Premier members, we are going back to our 1:30 time for the Pewter Insider on Friday because the Bucs have a regular Sunday game. So that'll be coming up at 1:30.
Yep, that's 1:30 on Friday. Can Tez Johnson emerge as wide receiver too? Of course, we'll always answer your questions. And for our Pewter Platinum and Premier members, every single comment you give us, we're going to put up on the screen. It's a great intimate conversation with our Pewter Premier and Platinum members. We love that every Friday. And again, Matt said it'll be 1:30. And of course, tomorrow, be back here at 4 o'clock for It's Bucs Hate the Saints week. And we'll have more commentary from the locker room about this big game coming up on Sunday, hopefully a bounce back game. And folks, I screwed up yesterday. You know, I should just learn to read. It would make my life so much easier. But the Pewter Game Day show is actually going to be at 4:05, not 1 o'clock. It's going to be 4:05. But I will tell you that our Pewter pregame show is going to be at 9 o'clock. That's right, 9 o'clock. That's the normal time for our Pewter pregame shows. And Matt and I, we had a huge turnout for the last game. Of course, that was a little bit more of a help because of the fact it was a night game. That certainly was beneficial because more people got to watch it. There's a longer period of time that you could watch it. But at 9 o'clock, we want you to join us on Sunday. And if you don't watch the show at 9, well, you have until 4:05 because that's when the kickoff of Pewter Game Day is. 4:05, not 1 o'clock, like I said yesterday. Sorry, folks. 4:05, Pewter Game Day. Matt Matera and Daniel Morales with the call there. It should be a really fun game. It always is with the Bucs and the Saints. And of course, the Bucs typically win. That makes it more fun. And it would be more fun to see this team get to 6-2. But you can watch both of those shows, like all of our shows, on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe when you do. And we appreciate all that. We're on the way to 22,000 subscribers. Thanks to you guys. One more little note here. Want to make sure that you guys are aware that the place to go when you're looking for food and fun and football is Walk-Ons. I'm going there literally in about 10 minutes with my wife, Ashley. We'll be at the Wesley Chapel location, signing autographs, taking pictures. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just going to eat. But if you want to say hi, I'll be there. So happy to shake your hand and talk a little Bucs football. But big screens, bold snacks, all the hype. Yeah, look at those nachos. Love the mozzarella logs. They're not sticks. They're logs, Matt. You know that because you've had a whole bunch. Me too. 3 Tampa Bay area locations, Wesley Chapel, Midtown Tampa, and Lakeland. Don't forget their happy hour menu, which is absolutely killer. It's better on Mondays and Tuesdays because Mondays is 3 to close. Tuesday, it's all day, but I'm going there today. Why? Because there's 2 happy hours, 3 to 6 and 9 to close. Same with that tomorrow, 3 to 6, 9 to close. Lots of great happy hour choices for you to eat and drink. You can eat like a winner and drink like a champ at Walk-Ons.
Got a couple more super chats to get to. Eric Moreno, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, do you expect Winfield and Ibuka to play? So the injury report just came out a couple of minutes ago. It was a walkthrough, and I did see Emeka Ibuka out there, so I do expect him to play. I'll rattle through it pretty quickly. And I also got to start. Teddy Bridgewater's the first one on the list. With teeth is the injury. Did not participate. Teddy Bridgewater, I like him. Good dude to talk to. He's been on the injury report like 3 or 4 separate times for 3 or 4 separate injuries.
I know.
How does he keep getting injured as the backup quarterback? So Teddy
It
Bridgewater.
said like illness
Teeth.
last, right?
Yeah, it was an illness. That is understandable. But
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago,
Does
it
he have
was
a
his arm.
cavity?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
But Teddy Bridgewater, teeth, did not participate. Levante David, Emeka Buka, Greg Gaines, Chris Godwin Jr., Luke Haggard, Bucky Irving, Christian Izzian, Hassan Reddick, Marquise Watson, Antoine Winfield Jr. all did not participate.
Yeah.
Winfield has a toe injury. Marquise Watson was personal as well.
Yeah.
Ben Bredesen, Devin Culp, Michael Jordan, Baker Mayfield, all limited. Mayfield dealing with a knee injury. Zion McCollum, full. Josh Williams, full as well.
Yeah.
The Saints, much, much smaller. Chris Olave, ankle, did not practice. Alante Taylor, personal, did not practice. Chase Young, illness, did not practice. Jawan Johnson and Alvin Kamara were limited. And John Ridgway III practice in full.
Yep.
So there's your injury report right there. He's 813. Thank you for this $10 super chat. Says, if you addressed this already, I missed it. But what was y'all's reaction to what Devin White said on the nightcap about Jason Light? Just when I thought Devin may have turned the corner. ...
I didn't watch that. Now I'm going to go watch it.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen it yet either. But,
I did see, like in the locker room, he was talking about, how the Bucs gave up on him, or maybe that was part of the clip. I don't know. That he said, "Yeah, I needed to get my bag, and that I did all these things, and I was so good, blah blah blah." And they didn't resign me. It's just kind of sour grapes. I mean, he's delusional. He's playing better, and I'm glad he's playing better for Johnson.
Yeah, I'm happy he's got a role, in the NFL.
But I mean, it's like, man, don't love yourself so much, man. Seriously, it's just he is just so like in his own head about how it's one thing to be confident, but it's like, Warren Sapp used to say this to me all the time: the eye in the sky don't lie. And it's like you are what your film says you are. And it's like, how many times do we pull up the loafs? Getting blocked by rookie centers 10 yards down the field, like not being able to shed blocks. The effort just wasn't there, So, that was the thing, man. It's just, to me, he just didn't have a clue. He didn't have the self-awareness about like how bad his play was while I was here. I mean, there's a reason why they didn't re-sign him. You don't think Jason Light wanted to re-sign him? They gave him the 5th-year option. He was the 5th overall pick by the Buccaneers. And they gave him every opportunity, and he didn't do it.
I think what's upsetting too is that there can be so many fond memories about Devin White in Tampa. Won a Super Bowl, the big interception at the end, Get Live 45, the song Get Live Stables, riding a horse around Raymond James Stadium. And if things didn't work out, he can go to another team and you can still have those fond memories about Devin White. But the more that he speaks on it and the more that he doesn't really take much accountability and just blames the Bucs, the more that I think for a lot of fans, and I'm kind of getting to it as well as a reporter, is when I first think of I keep saying Jason Light, of Devin White, I think of like the bad parts of Devin White and his last 2 seasons with the Bucs and requesting a trade and not being right about it. But he's charismatic. There's a lot of fun stuff. I'm still going to think of the fond memories of Devin White, but he's not helping himself.
I know. No, he's not at all. David Stackman says, should we look at Tyler Lockett? Selfishly speaking, I would say yes. I'd love to cover Kevin Lockett. Add another Kansas State Wildcat to the locker room would be fun. He's not the guy that he was. They already kind of have that guy in Sterling Shepard who knows this offense, has the rapport. I think if Sterling Shepard were to go down and they didn't have any veterans, maybe you look at bringing him in. But I think right now they're going to go with the guys that they have. And Sterling Shepard and Kevin Lockett kind of similar size-wise. So, I think Tampa Bay would do well to go get a bigger receiver with a bigger catch radius. And, they added that guy to the practice squad today. So they have a little bit more size now, 6'2". But, no one's going to replace Mike, though. That's for sure.
That is very true. All right, that's going to do for us on today's show. If you're not already doing so, please make sure you're following us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is PewterReportTV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video as well, how you're feeling about the Bucs and this matchup against the Saints, their last game before the bye week. That's it for today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.